Chapter 251. Demon General. The life of a cultivator is like an ant's. If they cannot become strong, they will only become cannon fodder for other people, Murong Chong thought to himself. That means that aside from becoming strong, there is no other choice. Otherwise, I will become like these people. On an overhanging cliff, in a magnificent castle, the blood demon general draped in a scarlet cloak sat on a scarlet throne. He held a golden wine cup and sat there expressionlessly. Without looking carefully, the face of the blood demon general was no different from a human youth's. However, the scarlet eyes on his pale face were filled with a boundless killing intent that would cause one to tremble. Below the great hall, there were 12 pillars on the two sides. Beside each pillar, there were 10 blood demons dressed in scarlet. The blood demon general raised the golden wine cup and took a gentle sip. A scarlet stain was left behind on his lips. Apparently, this was not actually some magnificent wine, it was a cup of fresh human blood. It was very possible it came from a captured heavenly Saber pavilion disciple. The blood demon general wiped the blood away from the corner of his lips and revealed a drunk expression. He said, "What delectable fresh human blood. I have not tasted it for 20 years in this space. Dang. Dang." Suddenly, a blood demon covered in blood came into the great hall anxiously. He walked forward and knelt below the throne. He respectfully said, "Lord Demon General, the shadow demons you sent out were all eliminated. According to your instructions, I have sent out all the blood demons within the palace 6 hours ago. Because Lord Demon General was in closed-door cultivation, I could not report until now." A faint smile was revealed on the blood demon general's face. He placed the golden wine cup on the table beside the throne and said, "Not a problem, it is something within expectations. They are just like dogs, I don't expect them to be of much use. Furthermore, we are just projections here, they can't even be compared to dogs. Even more reason to not care about them. Take your leave first, you have done a good job. As long as we can obstruct that group of people for one day and finish the ceremony, everything will be fine." The person that knelt on the ground got up and gave thanks before he quickly left the great hall. The blood demon general picked up the wine cup again. A frightening glow appeared in his scarlet eyes. He finished all the blood in the wine cup before he coldly spoke, "One day of time. All I need is one day and I can turn the heavenly Saber pavilion back into ruins." "Is that so? I'm afraid you won't have such an opportunity." A cold mocking voice suddenly resounded in the great hall. In the dark forest, Xiao Chen's group of 4 continued forward. The scarlet demonic snake occupied a huge territory in this forest. Despite walking for an hour, they did not run into other demonic beasts. After they walked out of the scarlet demonic snake's territory, they met other demonic beasts again. The weakest of them were early rank 5 demonic beasts. Occasionally, they would run into middle rank 5 demonic beasts. They even met a peak rank 5 demonic beast. Fortunately, it was not a rank 6. Although the fight was hard, they were not in any real danger. Along the way, there would be the sudden attacks from shadow demons. The group had to deal with them even though they were tired. It could be said that danger was present at every step of the journey. After they walked further, they finally met with the masters of the shadow demons. They were demons that were composed of blood. Blood demons had many insidious tricks up their sleeves, they were more horrifying than shadow demons. Their attacking methods were even more strange and varied. The most important thing was that their bodies were formed by liquids. Ordinary methods would not be able to kill them. They were not afraid of their heads exploding or being chopped into several pieces. Fortunately, Xiao Chen had lightning attributed essence, it was the nemesis of these beings. After they were injured, the essence that contained the state of thunder would stay on the wound without dispersing. This resulted in them being unable to reform. Yun Kexen's heavenly melody saber technique was even more horrifying. When the sound waves entered their bodies, it could instantly enter into every drop of blood in the blood demon and explode them into oblivion. Lonely Peak's fatal blow. Zhong Lai shouted and formed a mountain, crushing a shadow demon. Then he retrieved the demon core with a shua sound. Senior sister, how much longer before we can get out? Zhong Lai had finished his task. He leaned on a big tree and panted. Along the way, they had been fighting non-stop. Aside from the various demonic beasts, they had to be wary of the sneak attacks from the shadow demons and the blood demons. The group was constantly on a high state of alert. Furthermore, the road in the forest seems unending. The scene in the front was always the same, lots and lots of black trees. Even though Zhong Lai had comprehended Saber intent and had a stronger mental state than regular cultivators, he was still starting to get frustrated. Yun Kexin tossed an inferior grade spirit stone to Zhong Lai and Mu Heng each. Then she said, "Should not be for much longer. We have been walking in a straight line. We should be able to exit the forest by dusk." Yun Kexin seemed to have an inexhaustible supply of medicinal pills and inferior grade spirit stones. After every fight, she would hand out pills for treatment and recovering essence. If the essence exhaustion was too high, she just directly gave out an inferior grade spirit stone. If not for Yun Kexen's supply, even if the group wanted to continue fighting, they might not be able to do so. Mu Heng sat cross-legged and smiled faintly. Just treat it as cultivating. After one day of continuously fighting, I feel that my strength has increased by 50%. I even made some breakthroughs in some martial techniques that I could not comprehend before. It is better than cultivating bitterly in the back mountains for 3 months. Indeed, when compared to cultivating alone, a training session where your life was on the line had a significantly faster speed of training and cultivation. However, both had its advantages and disadvantages. Cultivating alone was stable and does not include any life-threatening danger. Experiential training could quickly raise one's cultivation, but it was very dangerous and there were too many uncertainties. In summary, both methods had to be used, alternating between bitter cultivation and experiential training. Only by achieving a good balance could one's cultivation grow the fastest. Pu Si. Xiao Chen, who was scouting out the situation in front, jumped down from a tree. He said, "We can rest for a while, there are no demonic beasts in the surroundings. The nearest demonic beasts are about 1,000 meters in front of us. They are early rank 5 demonic wolves. If they were alone, they would be easy to deal with. Unfortunately, this kind of demonic beasts has a pack mentality. They are about 5 in number, so there will be a hard battle later." Yun Kexin muttered for a while before speaking, "Same method then. The 3 of us will deal with the demonic wolves. Yi Chen will be on the defensive, preventing any sneak attacks from the shadow demons and the blood demons." After an hour, everyone had completely recovered their essence and they started their journey again. Spinning mountain destroys clouds. Zhong Lai shouted and a strong wind blew. A mysterious phenomenon was created, a lone mountain was formed. Then he rushed at the pack of rank 5 demonic wolves. Swift horizontal saber strike. 7 stars transposition. Mu Heng did not want to lag behind. A purple light lit up his body and he was like a saber. He flickered around the pack of wolves. Each time he appeared, his palm would slash once and a wolf head would be sent flying. Within the wolf pack, the huge wolf king stared at them with scarlet eyes. It was howling furiously. Like soldiers getting into a tactical formation, every time it howled, the formation of the wolves would change. After a while, the irresistible force that was Zhong Lai and Mu Heng received a strong counter-attack under the lead of the Wolf King. The wolves had blocked the attacks of the 2 and then counter-attacked without care for themselves. This left a few wounds on the 2 of them. Kai. Kai. A piercing sonic boom was heard on the battlefield. A white figure moved in an arc in the air and landed before the Wolf King. The slender saber in Yun Kexen's hand trembled and the Wolf King's huge body was knocked backward. The formation of the wolves became very messy. When Yun Kexen distracted the Wolf King, the pressure on Zhonglai and Mu Heng decreased. Xiao Chen held onto the lunar shadow saber and shut his eyes. He used his spiritual sense to cover every corner of the battlefield, especially the area where the three of them were fighting. They were now wary of the demons' attacks. When compared to demonic beasts, they knew how to hide themselves and play tricks. The crafty demons were the biggest threat to the group. Shua. In the world of his spiritual sense, a figure different from demonic wolves and humans appeared. It was a pool of blood flying very quickly toward Yun Kexen. Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes and executed the lightning evasion. A bolt of lightning tore through the dark night sky. Huang Dang. Xiao Chen drew his saber. The light on the lunar shadow saber was even more resplendent than lightning, it was very dazzling. Pu Si. There was a flash of cold light and the blade struck into the blood on the ground. Its speed was very fast, even the lightning in the sky had not disappeared yet. A mournful and miserable shriek came from the ground. The blood on the ground took a human form. Both its hands grabbed the lunar shadow saber that glowed with an electric light as it howled non-stop. Despicable human beings. I will feast on your blood sooner or later. I will make you suffer the most painful torture in this world. Xiao Chen smiled faintly as he said softly, "My apologies, you do not have that chance anymore." Explode. The lunar shadow saber stabbed into the demon's heart erupted with a horrifying electric light. There were arcs of electricity jumping around and crackling. The blood demon's body was blasted into tiny droplets of blood before eventually vanishing. Suddenly, 4 shadow demons flew over and launched themselves at Zhonglai and Mu Heng, who were in the middle of an intense battle. The timing of the shadow demons was very good. They chose the moment they were occupied by the wolf pack and were unable to react. A fierce flame started burning in Xiao Chen's right eye and it soon condensed into a purple electric flame. The flame elongated rapidly and turned into a sharp arrow. Pu Si. The arrow tore through the air like a bolt of lightning, illuminating the dark forest. It surpassed the speed of sound as it pierced the bodies of the 4 shadow demons. The shadow demons exploded and turned into a rain of black blood that covered the sky. In the palace on the overhanging cliff, the blood demon general was stunned when he heard that sudden mocking voice. There was someone who had evaded his perception and infiltrated his palace. Pu Si. The 10 blood demons standing below the throne in the great hall all cried miserably and exploded, turning into a mist of blood. Lu Chen, Lu Ruyu, and their team slowly appeared in the great hall. They had completely unleashed their auras. Their gazes were as sharp as sabers as they stared at the blood demon general on the throne. This was the demon that had once brought a calamity to the heavenly Subar pavilion. The blood demon looked at the 10 people and his lips curled up. He revealed a faint smile on his face. There I was thinking how high your cultivations were for you to be able to hide from my perception. Actually, you used an aura concealing talisman. Does the heavenly Saber pavilion not have other people? Or are they sending you here to die? Lu Chen's expression was calm as he said, "You are only a projection. We are sufficient to kill you." A cold light appeared in the blood demon general's scarlet eyes. He said indifferently, "I was originally somewhat worried about who the heavenly Saber pavilion would send. Seems like I have worried too much. Coincidentally, I still require some materials for the ceremony. Since you have sent yourselves to me, then I shall not stand on ceremony." Boom. After he spoke, a red light from the blood demon emperor rushed into the sky. A horrifying killing chi surged out at the group. There were many things going on in his eyes, like they were purgatory with countless vengeful spirits crying out miserably. A horrifying illusion appeared in front of the group. It was difficult to differentiate the real from the fake in this strange space. Huang Dang. Everyone drew their sabers at the same time. The orderly sound reverberated in the air. With a shua sound, the illusion instantly disappeared. Within the forest, after Yun Kashin killed the Wolf King, the remaining demonic wolves became disorganized. They all fled when the group attacked. Zhong Lai and Mu Heng started to sweep the battlefield, extracting the demonic wolves' demonic cores. Xiao Chen continued to stay on guard, preventing any demons from sneak attacking them. Boom. Just at this moment, a bright scarlet light rushed up into the sky in the distant horizon. A horrifying aura extended out from a distance. Zhong Lai and Mu Heng, who were sweeping the battlefield, felt a cold shiver. Mu Heng stopped moving and looked at the red light. He muttered, "What is this? What a horrifying aura. Who is it from?" Actually, everyone already had a guess in their hearts. However, they did not dare to be sure about it. They could not help but fix their gazes on Yun Kashin. When Yun Kashin saw that red light, she revealed a grave expression on her previously calm face. When she felt everyone's gazes, she turned around and slowly said, "Your mission is already complete. If you have a divine flame talisman, you can leave now. If you don't have one, I can give you one." Zhong Lai and Mu Heng were stunned when they heard this. A doubtful look appeared on their faces, as they could not understand what was going on. "Senior Sister Yun, didn't you say we have to go through the forest and meet up with the other teams?" "That's right, we are almost at our destination already, why are we not going there?" Yun Kexin's unexpected words caused the two of them to not know what to do. They simply could not understand what was going on. The plan was to go out of the forest. How was it that the mission was over before they had done so? When Xiao Chen heard Yun Kashin say that the mission was finished, he was mildly stunned as well. Then he looked at the red light rushing toward the sky from the mountain summit, and felt the aura that filled the entire space. After a while, Xiao Chen understood the crux of the situation. A bitter smile appeared on his calm face as he looked toward the sky. Xiao Chen slowly got up and said to Zhong Lai and Mu Heng, "Just go out. After all, you guys have already collected 10 demon cores each. You have already accomplished half your mission. The 100 medial grade spirit stones are not going to run away. There is still a large number of demonic cores. Your harvest is very significant already." After a pause, Xiao Chen continued, "More important than the harvest was the difficult battles you experienced. Zhong Lai, after some cultivating, you should be able to reach peak inferior grade martial saint without any problems." Then Xiao Chen turned to face Mu Heng. "Mu Heng, although your cultivation will not experience an explosive increase, I believe the increase in your strength will be higher than Zhong Li's." Zhong Lai thought for a long time. At this point in time, he had more or less understood what was going on. He revealed a complicated expression and said, "Yi Chen, that's not what I meant, Gao Shang and the rest." Suddenly, a sharp light appeared in Xiao Chen's originally calm gaze. He said, "Experiential trainings are always filled with dangers. Stop thinking about it. Just go." Mu Chen looked deeply at the calm Yun Kashin. He did not say anything as he took out the divine flame talisman. After a while, he was slowly enveloped in a ball of fire, vanishing from this space. Zhong Lai was shaken by Xiao Chen's gaze. He stopped saying anything else and took out a divine flame talisman as well. Then he turned into a ball of fire and slowly vanished from the space. After the two of them left, the atmosphere between Yun Kashin and Xiao Chen slowly turned strange. Neither of them spoke and the forest became extremely quiet. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground started shaking. However, it was not the ground shaking, but rather the entire subspace. Trees toppled over one after another and countless demonic beasts ran out from the forest in horror. The entire forest became incredibly chaotic. However, the atmosphere between the two of them remained incredibly silent. The surrounding chaos did not affect the two of them at all. After a long time, Yun Kashin sighed gently, "Are you not leaving yet? If you don't have a divine flame talisman, I can give you one." Xiao Chen shook his head, "No need. Can I ask you a few questions?" There were no fluctuations on Yun Kexin's calm face. She nodded, "I knew you would blame me. I also know what you are going to ask. I can tell you the answer." "That's right. From the very start, the Elders' Assembly had not intended for you all to complete the mission. The ones to complete the mission is Lu Chen's team. The mission of our team is to distract the Blood Demon General, to cause him to send out all the Blood Demons from the palace. While we got rid of the hindrances, Lu Chen's team can use the Aura Concealing Talisman to infiltrate the palace and focus on fighting the Blood Demon General." Xiao Chen said indifferently, "I have already guessed this much by myself. You misunderstand what I meant. I am not blaming you. I just want to ask you. What are the odds of Lu Chen's team killing the Blood Demon General?" As Yun Kashin had said, Xiao Chen had already guessed most of it based on the clues he had gotten and what he had observed. To put it simply, the Elders' Assembly used them as cannon fodder to distract the main force and create an opportunity for Lu Chen's team. What Zhang Lai could not understand earlier was why the Elders' Assembly had not clarified this and simply sent them to die. Thus, when he had guessed the answer, he was feeling dissatisfied. However, Xiao Chen was not concerned with this question. There was a very simple reason behind it. If the Elders' Assembly had told them in advance, out of the 100 people, most of them would not have participated in the mission. No one would be silly enough to volunteer as cannon fodder. From the same reasoning, Xiao Chen could not blame this on Yun Kashin. At least she was not the person who had issued the mission. As a team captain, she had already done her duty. Every time they were in a fight, Yun Kashin was on the front lines. If there was someone injured, she did not hesitate to hand out spirit stones or medicinal pills. She had already done her best to ensure everyone's safety. Thus, Zhang Li's emotions were starting to get out of control, so Xiao Chen had used his strong mental strength to help him recover his calm. The strong feed on the weak. Without sufficient strength, in the eyes of the people in control, you were only a chess piece to be moved. If you were strong enough, you would naturally be given a divine flame talisman to ensure your safety. Xiao Chen did not blame anyone, or bear a grudge. This matter only allowed him to see this world more clearly. Without sufficient strength, every step was filled with danger. Thus, he had to become strong. He had to grow stronger, and then grow even stronger. Only by doing this could he control his own fate. Now, Xiao Chen was only concerned about whether Lu Chen and the others could kill the Blood Demon General. If they could kill him easily, then there would be no problems. He could ignore the mission given to him by Lu Tianyu and leave this place. If their odds were bad, then he would have to go take a look. At the very least, he had to use that heaven-splitting saber strike Lu Tianyu had hidden in the lunar shadow saber before he left. Yun Kashin was mildly surprised to see Xiao Chen being so calm. She thought to herself, before saying, they have a 60% of victory. Out of Lu Chen's team, there are 7 people who have grasped the Blood Demon self-disintegration technique. They can burn their life force and temporarily increase their combat prowess. These 7 people did not intend to come out alive in the first place. They are the Deathsorn warriors of the Divine Saber camp. In the situation where they do not hold back, they can raise their combat prowess by 10 times. When Xiao Chen heard this, he was shocked. Lu Ruyu was among the 10 people. If the 7 people included her, he could not sit and watch idly. My apologies, I have to leave first. A silver warship flew out of Xiao Chen's right eye and he quickly leapt onto it. Before he left, he seemed to have thought of something. He said, "Actually, you don't have to blame yourself. You have already done a very good job." After he spoke, Xiao Chen rode off on his silver warship and headed to the palace on the overhanging cliff very quickly. He was as fast as lightning, disappearing in a flash. Yun Kexin watched as Xiao Chen left. She revealed a faint smile on her delicate face. Then she waved the roaming dragon saber around gently as she spoke to herself. Interesting. What is so urgent that he would forget about a heaven-ranked spirit weapon? Within the forest, Murong Chong saw the red light rushing into the sky. He slowly stopped and thought for a long time. "Senior brother Murong, why are we not moving?" One of the team members asked in confusion. Murong Chong did not reply. He turned around and walked to the team. He went to the front of a severely injured core disciple and slowly placed a divine flame talisman on his chest. After that, before everyone's shocked gazes, that person was enveloped in a ball of flames and vanished from the space. After Murong Chong did this, he took out another divine flame talisman and said, "Just stay here, there is no need to advance further. This is my last divine flame talisman. I will pass it to you and you can decide what to do with it for yourselves." After Murong Chong spoke, he soared into the sky. As his body pushed against the air, he created a sonic boom as he flew quickly towards the palace in front. "Senior brother Murong, don't leave." The group called out after Murong Chong left behind the divine flame talisman and flew off. They did not know what to do. They were able to get this far and only had 3 deaths by relying on Murong Chong's strength. Now that he was gone, they immediately panicked. A similar scene happened to the other teams in the forest. The core disciples leading the team stopped when they saw the red light rushing into the sky. However, their actions were different from Murong Chong and Yun Kexin. They simply used their divine flame talisman and left the subspace, leaving behind a group of dumbfounded core disciples. The winds howled in Xiao Chen's ears as he stood on the bow of the warship. His hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. There was an anxious look on Xiao Chen's face. He operated the formation markings in the warship at full force, not caring about the expenditure of essence as he headed to the palace at full speed. Xiao Chen was consoling himself. Elder sister Ruyu should not know the blood demon self-disintegration technique. Otherwise, Lu Tianyu would not have let her enter this subspace. After all, she is Lu Tianyu's daughter. No matter how much of a bastard he is, he will not joke around with his daughter's life. However, another thought appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. Maybe that old man predicted I would be worried about elder sister Ruyu. So he purposely used such a method to make me remain in this subspace and kill the blood demon general as he planned. Given the character of that sly old fox, he might have done this. When Xiao Chen thought of this, he could not help but increase the speed of the silver warship again. The speed of the silver warship was already approaching the speed of sound. The sharp wind blew on his face, cutting his skin like knives. Xiao Chen felt some pain, and had no choice but to use some essence to block the wind. Boom, boom, boom. Just at that moment, there was a series of sonic booms from behind Xiao Chen. A figure caught up quickly and landed firmly on the stern. Xiao Chen took a look and clearly saw who it was. He exclaimed in some surprise, "Murong Chong." Murong Chong was holding a saber in his left hand as he said mockingly, "Are you in such a rush to die?" When Xiao Chen heard this, his expression sank. He said in a cold voice, "I have no time to argue with you. This is my warship, please get off." Murong Chong looked like he had heard a joke. It was reflected in the expression on his face. He said, "Please get off. What if I don't want to? Then I can only chase you off." Murong Chong laughed coldly. "I want to see how powerful you are. to dare challenge me, who could once be considered your senior brother. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations. Clear Wind Chop. Xiao Chen did not continue the conversation. He simply shouted and executed the Azure Dragon Cloud Soaring Art in Clear Wind Chop. Suddenly, there were 9 streams of cool breezes in the air. Xiao Chen had divided into 9 illusions. Hu Kai. Within the cool breezes, the snow-white lunar shadow saber in Xiao Chen's hand disappeared. His killing intent was hidden. Combined with the illusions, it was difficult to differentiate the real from the fakes. Just as the saber light was about to strike Murong Chong, something strange happened. There was a cool breeze, and Murong Chong vanished right in front of Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was not startled. He simply extended out his spiritual sense and he was able to see the situation 200 meters around him clearly. In the midst of the haziness, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense picked up a black shadow on his lower right about 100 meters away. I found you. Combine. The 9 illusions in the air combined together and Xiao Chen's speed doubled, creating a sonic boom as he moved. The lunar shadow saber was glowing with a purple electric light, illuminating the dark red sky. The saber broke through the air and hacked at the black dot at lightning speed. Hu. The saber's blade gave off a thunderous sound when it struck his target. However, aside from the cool breeze, there were no signs of Murong Chong. Xiao Chen frowned and thought doubtfully to himself, what's going on? Even if he could hide himself in the cool breeze, he cannot really turn into the wind. If his location was found, he should be able to be attacked. Hu. A cool breeze blew behind Xiao Chen and Murong Chong's unhurried voice could be heard. Little junior brother, stop looking in the wrong place. I am here. The voice moved together with the cool breeze. It circled around Xiao Chen then echoed in the surroundings. It was impossible to judge where the voice was coming from. Xiao Chen revealed a cautious expression on his face. He slowly closed his eyes and returned the snow-white lunar shadow saber to its scabbard. Murong Chong has already practiced the clear wind chop to great perfection. He had also comprehended the clear wind chop state of wind to great perfection. When the two fought using the clear wind chop, Xiao Chen's usage of it could not be compared his. It will be difficult to find him. Trying to find a weak point while he has not made a move yet is not the right way. Only when he makes a move then would I have a chance to find him. At that time, I will use my strong physical body to force out a weak point. After that, I will use the rushing thunder saber technique's relentless attacks to completely defeat him. As long as he retreats, he will not be able to dodge the successively faster moves of the rushing thunder saber technique. A somewhat weak breeze blew across Xiao Chen's face. He could not help it, the gentle force caused his anxious expression to soften. He is coming. Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. A sharp light appeared in his eyes and there were crackling sounds coming from his bones. Fierce tiger leaving the mountains, dominating 100 beasts. 6,000 kilograms of force struck the empty air, hitting the cool breeze. There was an explosive sound coming from the formless wind, his fist had exploded it. Murong Chong, who was hidden in the cool breeze, had a stunned expression and was mildly startled. Murong Chong decisively revealed himself, giving up on his earlier method of attack. He released his hand from his saber and struck out with his palm. The wind from his palm roared like thunder, making the air tremble. Bang! The fist and palm gave off a loud explosive sound when they met, it was like the crackle of thunder. It shook their eardrums, reverberating in their eyes. A surging shockwave spread out to the surroundings like a wave. The two of them took 5 steps back at the same time. One stood on the bow and the other the stern. In this exchange of a fist and palm, they had struck to a draw. The qi and blood in Xiao Chen's body were surging, his internal organs were jolted. He could felt blood coming up his throat, he did not suppress it and vomited it out. Xiao Chen had not expected such a result. His physical body had already reached a horrifying level. A full power punch from him carried 6,000 kilograms of force. A sudden attack with his fist could kill a superior-grade martial saint. However, not only Murong Chong was fine, he struck a draw with him. The silver warship flew continuously in the sky, beneath the red full moon. A violent wind was blowing past the both of them. Their long black hair danced in the wind and their clothes fluttered noisily. Blood leaked out from the corner of Murong Chong's mouth. His complexion was somewhat pale. That palm of his had been reinforced by essence. Actually, Murong Chong's physical body was significantly weaker than Xiao Chen's. Thus, the internal injuries he received were more severe than Xiao Chen's. Murong Chong slowly wiped off the blood on the corner of his lips and revealed a faint smile. To be able to force me to withdraw my saber, you are qualified to challenge me. However, if that is all you have, it is far from enough to chase me away. Huh. Just as Murong Chong was about to continue making his move, a green leaf appeared above the silver warship. The falling green leaf looked very insignificant, but it strangely maintained an incredulous movement speed in the wind. It was neither fast nor slow, giving one a comfortable feeling. However, it drifted more than 100 meters in an instant. Its speed was actually faster than Xiao Chen's silver warship. Xiao Chen's gaze focused on the leaf, extremely suspicious of it. Who is this? Their martial spirit was actually released out. Going by the strangeness of this martial spirit, it might be an inherited martial spirit. The green leaf slowly landed in between the two of them. Then, it glowed with a white light. A person in white clothes with a calm expression appeared before them, Yun-Kashin, holding the roaming dragon saber. The both of you. At such a time you are still in the mood to compete. Yun-Kashin said indifferently without any expression on her delicate face. It was actually Yun-Kashin. Xiao Chen was mildly surprised. However, when he thought about it, he realized Yun-Kashin was strong for a peak inferior grade martial saint. If she had an inherited martial spirit, that would explain it. In addition, she had an indifferent attitude toward the demonic cores. Only a person from a clan with inherited martial spirits would not care about inferior grade spirit stones. Xiao Chen said, "This is my warship. I do not welcome people who are here to pick an argument with me." Murong Chong ignored him and placed his saber at his side. Then he sat down at the stern and closed his eyes, recovering his energies. Xiao Chen was very anxious about Lu Ruyu. He did not want to continue fighting with Murong Chong. He turned around and said, "Senior Sister Yun, why are here?" Yun-Kashin looked at the red light in the distance, the origin of the extending killing chi, and the palace that loud sounds were coming from. She said, "Same as you." Xiao Chen found it funny. He said, "What is my purpose? You don't even know. How can you say it is the same as mine?" Yun-Kashin glanced at Murong Chong, then at Xiao Chen. She said, "Actually, the three of us have the same purpose." Xiao Chen nodded slightly and did not continue to pursue the matter. He piloted the silver warship at full power and flew quickly toward the palace. Bang! 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 Within the palace, there were 7 divine saber camp bladesmen who had their strength raised by the blood demon self-disintegration technique. They were covered with a surging killing chi. Boundless scarlet saber chi were flying everywhere in the palace. Every saber chi was at least 100 meters long. They were incredibly frightening. They contained a horrifying energy. When they struck the blood demon general, they would cause him to retreat. His body was covered in bleeding wounds. After the 7 of them executed the blood demon self-disintegration technique, their combat prowess surpassed that of a medial grade martial king. Adding in the other 3, they had beaten the blood demon general to a point of helplessness. After that, they had kept the blood demon general in a suppressed state, not giving him a chance to retaliate. Angry Azure River. The 7 people shouted, and a scarlet light covered their bodies. 7 red saber chi merged together in the air and turned into a scarlet river, surging toward the Blood Demon General. The Blood Demon General revealed a grave expression as he placed his palms in front of him. A round ball of blood appeared and enveloped him. Only seeing the cool breeze, but not the saber. A cool breeze blew in the Great Hall. Lu Ruyu moved very fast in the cool breeze. The saber light flashed and the blood ball condensed by the Blood Demon General cracked. Boom. The surging scarlet river entered through the crack. A miserable shriek came from the blood ball, and it exploded in the next instant. The Blood Demon General turned into countless tiny droplets of blood and disappeared. Is it over? Lu Chen asked, looking where the Blood Demon General had vanished, an expression of uncertainty on his face. The other people did not let down their guards. It had been hard for them to get to this point. If they were careless, they could lose everything. They could not afford to lose. After waiting a long time, the majestic palace still did not have any activity. The Great Hall was completely silent. There was only the sound of people breathing. Lu Chen pondered for a moment, then he said, he should be dead. He is only a projection after all. After we kill the remaining blood demons, this space will disappear. When the others heard this, they nodded. The strength of the Blood Demon General was indeed horrifying. However, it was only a projection in his space. He was not even a tenth as strong as he actually was. Just as the group was about to heave a sigh of relief, countless droplets of blood suddenly appeared in the Great Hall. The droplets quickly gathered at a certain spot. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. When all the blood droplets gathered together, the figure of the Blood Demon General appeared behind a bladesman who executed the Blood Demon self-disintegration technique. Pussy. There was a terrifying, miserable shriek and a bubbling sound came from that bladesman. The Blood Demon General absorbed all his blood, he became a husk of himself. The dark red moon in the distant sky shone a red light on the Blood Demon General, strengthening his somewhat weak body. All this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. Everyone was unable to react. They wore shocked expressions on their faces. The Blood Demon General casually tossed aside the bladesman. His pale lips dripped blood as he revealed a sinister smile. Stupid humans, am I that easy to kill? As the silver warship drew nearer to the palace, the pressure from the horrifying killing chi grew. Yun Kashin said, even though it is just a projection, the strength of this Blood Demon General is probably the equivalent of a peak medial grade martial king at the very least. Murong Chong, who was on the stern, suddenly opened his eyes. He stood up and said, probably not just that. When adding in his status as a demon, his true fighting strength is probably at superior grade martial king. Within the Great Qin nation, a martial saint was an individual who had only begun the road of cultivation. They could be considered to be minor experts. They could become a tyrant of a small place, such as Mohe City. The local powers would invite them and treat them well. After one reached martial saint, every grade they advanced would bring about a qualitative change to their strength. However, it was difficult for them. For a cultivator to become a martial saint before they turned 30 was considered pretty good. For one to become a true expert in the Great Qin nation, one had to become a martial king. After successfully becoming a martial king, every big clan and power in the Great Qin nation would fawn over one. In general, the strength of a clan was determined by the number and quality of martial kings they had. Of course, the number referred to how many martial kings there were and quality referred to their grade. At the martial king realm, not to mention a grade, even a small advantage could immediately determine a victor. This was because it was too difficult to advance once one got to this cultivation realm. Everyone clearly knew the difference between a peak medial grade martial saint and a superior grade martial saint. It was simply the difference between heaven and earth. It would not be an exaggeration to say that the difference was 10 times. After Xiao Chen heard Murong Chong, he maintained a calm expression on his face. However, he was extremely anxious. He could only pray Lu Ruyu would be fine. Xiao Chen finally understood why Lu Tianyu left behind such a huge power in the lunar shadow saber. This was because he had long anticipated the younger generations of the heavenly saber pavilion would be no match for the blood demon general. Suddenly, the expression on Murong Chong's face changed. He said in a confused manner, "What's going on?" The blood demon general's aura suddenly vanished. Xiao Chen and Yun Kexin also felt it at the same time. The pressure from the surging aura disappeared. They could not feel it at all. Yun Kexin was suspicious as she guessed, could the blood demon general have already died? When a person's aura vanished, aside from that person hiding it on purpose, it was only the result of death. Given the blood demon general's style, hiding himself was definitely not the answer. That only left the explanation of death. Who? Under the full moon, a red light descended and once again, everyone felt the horrifying aura of the blood demon general. Yun Kexin frowned and said, "This feeling, why does it feel like a revival after death? What exactly happened in that palace?" The silhouette of the palace had already appeared before their vision. It did not look far away, but it would still require some time before they arrived. Xiao Chen stayed silent as he stared at the scarlet moon above him. He had felt that something was wrong with this scarlet moon since a long time ago. The red light that came from the scarlet moon verified Xiao Chen's guess. The red light seemed to contain the energy of life, it carried a surging energy. Murong Chong said, "This moon seems a little strange. I am sure the blood demon general was indeed killed on some level. However, the red light from the moon allowed him to revive. Immortality while the moon shines." Xiao Chen frowned as he thought suspiciously. Xiao Chen stopped thinking. At this moment, the most important thing was to quickly arrive at the palace. Xiao Chen took out an inferior grade spirit stone and absorbed its energy. The chi whirlpool in Xiao Chen's dantian spun quickly as he used his essence unreservedly. The silver warship increased its speed significantly. After 10 minutes, the three of them finally arrived at the palace. Rumble. The intense sound of fighting penetrated through the palace's barrier, echoing in their ears. Hu Kai. Murong Chong jumped into the air, leaving the stern of the warship and descending to the top of the palace quickly. He sent out a palm strike and a large hole immediately appeared in the roof of the palace. Then, he jumped down the hole without hesitation. Xiao Chen did not hesitate, either. He put the silver warship back into his right eye and entered the hole Murong Chong created with Yun Kexin. Bang! Before they landed, they saw Murong Chong turn into a cool breeze and head for the blood demon general. He silently left a severe wound on the blood demon general's body with his saber. Angry Azure River. In the Great Hall, the horrifying scarlet saber chi gathered together again and formed a scarlet river. It carried a boundless aura as it rushed at the blood demon general. The Angry Azure River was originally a peak Earth-ranked martial technique. When there were so many people executing it together, the might of this move reached the level of an inferior grade heaven-ranked martial technique. Pu Si. Pu Si. An intense explosion came from the Great Hall. The entire Great Hall started to shake without stopping. With a loud bang, this move killed the blood demon general again. Then, he turned into countless blood droplets and vanished once more. When Lu Ruyu saw Xiao Chen, she quickly leapt over. Her pretty face revealed an anxious expression. She quickly said, "Yi Chen, why are you here? Didn't I give you a divine flame talisman?" Xiao Chen said quietly, "There is no need to worry, your father told me to come. He already anticipated that you all would not be a match for the Blood Demon General. He sealed a martial technique in the Lunar Shadow Saber. It can kill him. The group killed the Blood Demon General again. However, this time, no one showed any signs of relaxing. Instead, they became even more anxious. Senior Brother Lu, the Blood Demon self-disintegration technique effects are going to end. Everyone has already exhausted their strength. If we use the Angry Azure River again, its might will be significantly lower. If the Blood Demon General revives again, the situation would not be good. One of the Divine Saber Camp Bladesmen spoke to Lu Chen anxiously. Lu Chen had a sullen expression. He was well aware of the situation. However, this was completely out of their expectations. They originally thought, with the tenfold increase of strength from the Blood Demon self-disintegration technique and the combined Angry Azure River, they would be able to kill the projection of the Blood Demon General with the other Blood Demons gone. However, they did not expect the situation they were currently in, a situation where the Blood Demon General was undying. When Murong Chong saw Lu Ruyu standing with Xiao Chen, a difficult-to-trace anger flashed in his eyes. He quickly walked to Lu Chen and said, his true body should be the red moon in the sky. There is no such thing as an unlimited revival in the world. If we continue killing him, he will die eventually. Lu Chen smiled bitterly and pointed to the 3 human husks on the ground and said, I'm afraid, before he dies, we will not be able to hold out. If he still does not die after we kill him one more time, we can only choose to retreat. Pu Si. Pu Si. The countless blood droplets appeared in the Great Hall again. They quickly gathered to a spot and the Blood Demon General appeared. However, this time, because they were more cautious, he could sneak attack no one. The Scarlet Moon shone a red light down and the Blood Demon General's weak body became strong again. A cruel grin appeared on his pale face as he looked at the 3 new arrivals, another 3 people bringing themselves to die. Kill. The amount of time they could maintain the Blood Demon self-disintegration technique was limited. Lu Chen did not want to waste any more time. The moment the Blood Demon General appeared, he led the team to attack him. Lu Ruyu, who was beside Xiao Chen, only told Xiao Chen to be careful before she rushed onto the battlefield, fighting the Blood Demon General with the rest. The 7 people fighting had already experienced several big battles together, they were able to coordinate perfectly. Xiao Chen, Yun Kashin, and Murong Chong were not in a good position to enter the battle. Otherwise, they might disrupt their rhythm. They could only stay by the side and watch quietly, waiting for an opportunity. Blood Demon Death Spear. The Blood Demon General shouted and condensed a ball of blood in his hand. The ball of blood elongated and turned into a long spear. It left behind a scarlet afterimage in the air as it flew quickly at the group. The speed of the spear was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived before Lu Chen. There was a glint in Lu Chen's eyes as he swung his saber in a full circle in the air. A spinning air current generated in front of Lu Chen. When the scarlet spear came into contact with it, it changed direction and flew to the side. Bang! The scarlet spear hit a huge stone pillar in the Great Hall. The stone pillar exploded and corroded. In the next moment, there was a loud crash. The upper half of the pillar fell to the ground. When the several-meter-tall stone pillar fell, everyone quickly dodged. The fall of the stone pillar kicked up a large amount of dust. Under such a heavy impact, the Great Hall shook relentlessly. Pu Si. The Blood Demon General took advantage of the moment everyone dodged. He laughed strangely and turned into a scarlet liquid, rushing at a bladesman who executed the Blood Demon self-disintegration technique. When the bladesman was stable, he felt danger from behind him. However, it was too late. There was a crunch and the Blood Demon General pierced through the bladesman. There were bubbling sounds as that person cried out miserably. After a while, he was just a husk that was sucked dry and tossed aside. The blood demon general took human form again as he chuckled. Human blood is always so exquisite. It leaves behind a rich aftertaste. Liu Chen's expression turned cold. Several bladesmen who executed the blood demon self-disintegration technique had already died. There were only a few left to execute the angry Azure River. Its might would significantly diminish. Senior Sister Ruyu, we can't drag this on for much longer. Quickly create an opening to execute the angry Azure River. Liu Chen called out in a loud voice as he hacked at the blood demon general. The blood demon general was also aware of the might of the angry Azure River. Hence, it kept executing the blood demon death spear, not giving them an opportunity. The long corrosive spear flew quickly at the group through the air. Everyone had seen the might of the blood demon death spear earlier. They did not take head on and all dodged. Bang! 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 Soon, only 11 stone pillars were left standing in the Great Hall. A number of them had already been destroyed by the blood demon death spear. Pillar after pillar fell over, kicking up a large amount of dust. The battlefield immediately turned chaotic. Amidst the chaos, the blood demon general transformed into a red liquid, attacking them endlessly. Liu Chen and the others had to dodge the falling pillars and be wary of the blood demon general's sneak attacks at the same time. They did not have an opportunity to make a move on him. Their hands were already full. Murong Chong looked up at the roof of the palace. His expression changed as he said, "It's not good, the palace is going to collapse." The palace, that had lost 12 of its pillars, shook unceasingly. Rocks crumbled and fell from above. Just as Murong Chong spoke, there was a loud sound. The entire roof collapsed and countless rocks fell. Liu Chen shouted, "Get out, now!" Boom! The remaining people condensed boundless saber lights with their sabers and made a move, smashing the rocks falling on them. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He flashed through the air and executed the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. Every time he punched, it contained 6,000 kilograms of force, smashing the rocks to bits. Yun Kashin turned into a lead and drifted about the dust, moving with the wind. Soon, she drifted out. When the dust settled, the huge majestic palace had become ruins. In the midst of the rubble, a red light exploded out. Dust was kicked up again and under the illumination of the moon, he reappeared. The blood demon general's weak voice revealed anger. He said in a cold voice, "Ignorant children. How dare you wreck my palace? No one will walk out of here today." Who? There was a cool breeze blowing in the battlefield. Lu Ruyu's figure suddenly vanished in the cool breeze. In the next moment, a wound appeared on the blood demon general's chest. Blood sprayed everywhere. As Lu Ruyu flashed by the blood demon general, he cried out in pain. He stretched his hands out to grab her, but he grabbed nothing but thin air. Instead, another wound appeared on his back. Liu Chen quickly said, "It's a good opportunity, prepare to attack." Streams of cool breeze blew around the blood demon general incessantly. Lu Ruyu appeared and disappeared around him, leaving wounds behind. The blood demon general circulated his energies and moved around quickly, turning into flashes of red light. However, the cool breeze followed very tightly. No matter where the blood demon general hid, or what he turned into, saber lights left wounds on his body. Damn it! The blood demon general clapped his hands vigorously, creating an explosion. His body emitted a surging red light. Under the illumination of the red light, Lu Ruyu, who was hidden in the cool breeze, was revealed as a red figure. The blood demon general gave a sinister smile as he said, "I found you. Go die." Blood demon death punch. Lightning evasion. There was a bolt of lightning and Xiao Chen appeared before Lu Ruyu. The bones in his body cracked as he took the dragon stance with his left hand and the tiger stance with his right. The dragon and tiger merged into him as the illusion of the dragon and tiger intertwined together. Crouching tiger, hidden dragon. Bang! The blood demon general's horrifying punch struck both Xiao Chen's arms. The horrifying force gave off a loud sound. Cracks appeared on the ground below Xiao Chen. There was a strong wind blowing from the cracks. The huge rocks around Xiao Chen flew up and spun. However, Xiao Chen did not move. He continued to circulate the dragon and tiger body sculpting art, quickly storing up energy. The dragon did not roar and the tiger did not howl. Crouching tiger, hidden dragon, letting the opponent be arrogant first. The next instant, Xiao Chen roared angrily and his body tilted back slightly as he punched. The roars of the dragon and the howls of the tiger sounded out continuously. Crackles of thunder could be heard in the dark red sky, the layers of clouds churned, countless strikes of lightning danced among them. The illusion of the tiger and dragon behind Xiao Chen merged into his body. The energy the crouching tiger hidden dragon stored up was unleashed with this punch. This was the third move of the great dragon tiger fist. Using the crouching tiger hidden dragon to store up energy and unleash it with the dragon hisses, tiger roars. The blood demon general did not expect Xiao Chen to withstand his blood demon death punch. Even more, he did not expect Xiao Chen to make a quick counter-attack after the blood demon death punch struck him. Such a horrifying punch contained 7,500 kilograms of force. It struck the blood demon general in the chest. After the punch struck, there was a scarlet light. A hole the size of a head appeared in the blood demon general's chest. On the sides of the wound, arcs of electricity flickered, stopping the wound from healing. Xiao Chen endured the surging qi and blood in his body. He pushed his feet off the ground and turned into a purple flash, retreating at least 100 meters. Lu Ruyu rushed over and asked worriedly, "Yi Chen, are you alright?" The might of the blood demon death punch was stronger than the blood demon death spear. Xiao Chen received this punch head on. He was definitely not as fine as he looked. Xiao Chen swallowed a blood replenishing pill and said, "I suffered some internal injuries, I still can hold on. You don't have to bother about me." Angry Azure River. A surging scarlet river gushed at the blood demon general, who planned to make a counter-attack on Xiao Chen, stopping him from doing so. The river surged and splashed up, containing a boundless energy. Damn it! The blood demon general stopped and placed his hands before him. A moving scarlet ball completely enveloped his body. Lu Chen had a sullen expression as he threw out his saber. The saber transformed into an eagle and flew at the scarlet ball. He shouted, "Break for me." Dang! The eagle pecked the surface of the scarlet ball and there was a flash of saber light. A tiny crack appeared on the surface of the scarlet ball. However, before Lu Chen had time to rejoice, the surging blood immediately moved and sealed the crack. In the next moment, the scarlet river crashed violently against the scarlet ball. The scarlet ball did not last long. Under the relentless attacks from the scarlet rivers, it quickly broke. Although the blood demon general's defenses broke, the might of the scarlet river had reduced significantly. When it struck the blood demon general's body, it created an intense explosion. There was a rain of blood and a red light shining. When the red light faded away, it revealed that the blood demon general did not die like the previous times. There was a pool of blood moving on the ground, trying to reform the body. Peerless lunar shadow. Murong Chong decisively made a move and drew his saber. The two crescent moons on his saber crisscrossed. The two crescent moons spun and eventually turned into a scarlet moon behind Murong Chong. Two scarlet moons strangely appeared in the sky. Under the full moon, a red light lit on Murong Chong's saber. Murong Chong sent out an arc light with his saber, shaped like a scarlet crescent moon, at the blood demon general. Eagle flock gathers. Lu Chen stretched out his hand and the saber flew back. At the same time, countless eagles formed by his aura flew over, filling the air. He waved his saber and all the eagles in the sky quickly gathered and merged into a single eagle glowing with a golden light. The eagle spread its wings and cried out. It tore through the air and created shockwaves as it rushed at the blood on the ground. Bang! Bang! The eagle and crescent moon struck the blood together and exploded. A huge, deep pit appeared in the ground, countless cracks extended out everywhere. The aura of the blood demon general disappeared from their perception again. Lu Chen withdrew his saber and sheathed it. When Lu Chen saw the remaining bladesmen turn into dry corpses as a result of the blood demon's self-disintegration technique's effect ending, his expression turned frosty. Shua. He took out a divine flame talisman and threw it to Lu Ruyu. Then he took out another one, intending to leave this place. Lu Ruyu stretched her hand out to catch the divine flame talisman. Then she said, Lu Chen, the blood demon general is definitely not dead yet. Lu Chen said indifferently, I know. However, we are out of cards to play. The first elder, Zhang Kai, has already informed the royal clan's Imperial Dragon Legion. This is as far as we go. After he spoke, the divine flame talisman started burning and he turned into a ball of fire, disappearing slowly from everyone's sight. Heaven Viewing Platform, Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Lingyun Mountain Range. The Elders' Assembly's people anxiously waited for the results. Who? A ball of fire appeared before everyone's eyes. When the fire completed burned out, Lu Chen appeared, wearing a frosty expression. When they saw Lu Chen's expression, the Elders' Assembly's hearts sank and a dark look appeared on their faces. The second elder carried a hopeful attitude as he asked, Lu Chen, how did the mission go? Lu Chen shook his head, failed. The blood demon general should be severely injured. The seal breaking should be delayed. Failed. The people at the side asked in disbelief. How could this be? Although the strength of the blood demon general is immense and is the equivalent of a medial grade martial sage, he is only a projection in that subspace. His strength should be lowered to the equivalent of martial king. In addition, there are the other disciples to help you distract the remaining blood demons. Relying on the tenfold increase of strength by executing the blood demon self-disintegration technique, combined with Angry Azure River, is equivalent to an inferior grade heaven-ranked martial technique. There should be no problems. Lu Chen explained, it is not that simple. Within that space, there is a strange scarlet moon in the sky. Every time we kill the blood demon general, the scarlet moon revives the blood demon general. After the third time, the disciples executing the blood demon self-disintegration technique burned up their life force. I had no other choice but to retreat. When the crowd heard this, they looked at each other in dismay. They did not expect this blood demon general to be so difficult to deal with. They did not understand the Scarlet Moon, either. When they peered through the reincarnation well, the Elders' Assembly knew there was a Scarlet Moon in the space. However, they paid no attention to it. They did not expect their defeat to result from that. The second elder muttered, that Scarlet Moon should be the energy core of the entire subspace. I believe the Blood Demon General is intending to use that to break the seal. Now that the Scarlet Moon has been used so many times, it will definitely delay the breaking of the seal for at least a fortnight. The third elder continued, half a month, the elites of the Imperial Dragon Legion should arrive by then. When combined with the strength of our Heavenly Saber Pavilion, we should be able to resolve this situation. The Imperial Dragon Legion was the strongest army of the Great Qin Nation's royal clan. Their commander was Nangong Lai, the strongest of the 10 martial monarchs. The lowest cultivation realm found in the Legion was Peak Superior Grade Martial Saint. There was more than 2,000 peak martial kings in the Legion. Combined with their 10 ancient warships, they could kill a regular martial sage easily. Furthermore, they were frequently in the north, fighting the barbarians who were indirectly ruled by the demonic world abyss. They battled frequently and their combat prowess was always maintained at a peak state. The words, Imperial Dragon, also had another meaning, to protect the emperor. This legion consisted of many peak experts of the Great Qing nation. They could be said to be the force supporting the Great Qing nation. TL notes, Chinese words tend to have many meanings. To figure out which meaning it is, the context has to be taken into consideration. Just like the word for imperial here also means protect, the dragon can also refer to the emperor. The symbol of the emperor is traditionally a dragon. The first elder shook his head and smiled bitterly. This bunch of people has a really big appetite. They wanted 1/10 of our spirit mine's profit every year before they were willing to help. Lu Chen's face sank. He said in astonishment, that is simply daylight robbery. If the spatial crack in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion opens, half of Zaihe province will be affected. Are they not afraid of that? The second elder advised him. They initially asked for 20%. It is because of that reason that they lowered it to 1/10. Furthermore, they still have the option of making a move after the Heavenly Saber Pavilion gets destroyed. Zhang Kai muttered, the weak are not qualified to speak conditions. The royal clan is just waiting for the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to be destroyed. If it was not for the fact they were afraid of perishing together with us, they would not even agree to help. At this moment, everyone noticed the silhouette of a completely golden warship appearing in the distance. The warship soon stopped outside the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. When Zhang Kai raised his head and took a look, he saw a fluttering black flag on the warship. The word, Ying, was written on the flag. Take my command token and open the barrier, let them fly in. Zhang Kai passed his command token to an elder behind him. That elder nodded and leapt into the air. Then, he flew silently into the distance. This was the ability of a martial king. They could fly in the air unaided and without causing any sonic booms. After a while, the golden warship flew quickly over to them. It was only when the golden warship arrived above their heads that everyone could see how huge it was. It covered the sky and cast a huge shadow. It was like it was a huge moving fortress. Who? A petite golden figure jumped down from the bow of the ship. She was dressed in golden battle armor. Under the light of the sun, it gave off a golden glow. The sunlight casted a layer of golden light on her face. Combined with her aura, she was like a female war god, valiant and formidable. Everyone present managed to guess who she was. There were looks of astonishment on their faces, as they had not expected this person to come. A person from the royal clan that could cause the elders' assembly to feel astonished. Aside from the great Qin nation's Princess Ying-yu, there was no other. Keng Chang. Ying-yu landed firmly on the ground. When she landed, the battle armor she was wearing gave off a melodious metallic sound. Amidst this pleasing sound, a killing chi extended out. This was not done on purpose. Instead, this aura had already merged with the person who gave off this sound. There was no need to release it just for people to feel it. Greetings to Princess Ying-yu. Although the Heavenly Saber Pavilion elders were very strong, in front of the princess with the highest prestige in the royal clan, they had to put on a respectful appearance. A faint smile was revealed on Ying-yu's exceptionally gorgeous face as she said, "Seniors, there is no need to stand on ceremony." Zhang Kai asked puzzledly, "It is not the appointed time yet. How come the Imperial Dragon Legion is here so early?" Ying-yu smiled, "I have some personal matters in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. So I borrowed the warship to come here in advance. This will not affect your deal with the Imperial Dragon Legion. Of course, if needed to, they can enter into battle at any time." Princess Ying-yu had some personal matters in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Zhang Kai and the other elders exchanged looks. They were puzzled. They could not remember a time when they had dealings with Princess Ying-yu. However, Jing Kai was a sly old fox, after all, and did not inquire about it. He said, "Never mind, since they are here, they can start making their preparations. Our people have failed. It seems like we will require the Imperial Dragon Legion to make a move this time." There was a slight change to Ying-yu's expression. She said, "That's fine as well, we can deal with both matters together." Just at this moment, there was a formless fluctuation in the air. Aside from Zhang Kai, no one else felt it. The fluctuation was headed for Zhang Kai. Zhang Qi's expression changed and he quickly closed his eyes, as though he was pondering something. It seemed like someone was communicating with him. When Ying-yu saw the situation, she stopped signaling for the troops to disembark from the warship. Then, she unconsciously glanced in the direction of Qingyan Peak. After a long time, Zhang Kai opened his eyes. There was now a smile that was not present on his face earlier. He said, "Your Highness, there has been a change in the situation. How about touring around the Heavenly Saber Pavilion first? Taking a look at the Lingyun mountain ranges scenery." Everyone looked at each other. They did not know what happened for Zhang Kai to suddenly change his words. Ying-yu was slightly surprised. She answered, "Anything is fine." "That is good. Lu Chen, you are in charge of taking care of Her Highness," Zhang Kai said lightheartedly. It was clear that he was in a good mood. Within the subspace, on top of the rubble of the palace on the overhanging cliff, Xiao Chen, Yun Kashin, Murong Chong, and Lu Ruyu were all standing in different corners. None of them had any intention of leaving. Lu Ruyu looked at the divine flame talisman in her hand. Then, she threw it at Murong Chong. Pu Si. A saber light flashed. Murong Chong had hacked the divine flame talisman into two halves. Lu Ruyu was so furious that she could not speak properly. "You." Murong Chong withdrew his saber. There was no expression on his handsome face as he said indifferently, "Is this the first day you met me? I never leave a path of escape for myself." Lu Ruyu calmed down and a peaceful expression returned to her face. She turned to Xiao Chen and asked, "Are you not leaving?" Xiao Chen replied, "I promised your father that the blood demon general must die." Yun Kashin, who had been silent all the while, suddenly spoke, "Did you all realize that every time the blood demon general revives, it takes longer than before?" When they heard Yun Kashin, it was like a light went off in their heads. This seemed to be true. The first time they killed the blood demon general, he only took 5 minutes to revive. The second time, he had taken 10 minutes. This was now the third time. 20 minutes had passed, and the blood demon general had not revived yet. If it were not for the experience of the first 2 times, they would have thought the blood demon general was thoroughly killed and left. Murong Chong said, "I told you earlier, it is impossible for the blood demon general to revive without limit. It does not conform to the rules of the world. Every form of energy will eventually be exhausted." Yun Kashin nodded and continued, "Furthermore, every time he revived, there was a period of time when he was weak. Only after the red light from the moon shone on him could he recover his peak strength. If we attack at that time, we will be able to kill him easily." That was indeed so. When everyone thought about it carefully, the scarlet moon would always shine a red light down after the blood demon general revived. Lu Ruyu shook her head and said, "That's not possible, the time period is too short. If we were to attack quickly, the might of our attacks would decrease. It would not be a threat to him." Yun Kashin eyed Xiao Chen and said, "Yi Chen, there's a way." A strange look appeared in Murong Chong's eyes. He did not believe it. It was not possible for him to strike out with martial techniques using that much strength on such short notice. He did not believe that Xiao Chen, who was weaker than him, could do it, either. He can do it. Stop joking. Murong Chong snorted coldly. Hu Kai. Hu Kai. Countless blood droplets appeared above the rubble and gathered towards a single point rapidly. Everyone's expression changed. They knew this was the prelude to the Blood Demon General's revival. Hence, they quickly stopped talking. Xiao Chen remained silent. A fierce flame was burning incessantly in his right eye, turning into an ocean of fire. The Blood Demon General's weak form appeared again. The red light from the moon descended down like a lightning-quick silk belt. The Blood Demon General revealed a sinister expression on his pale face. He laughed as he said, "Just the four of you left. How unfortunate, that brat has escaped. As long as I'm under this moon, I am an immortal existence. Sorry to disappoint you again, ah." Before he finished speaking, just as the red light was about to land on his head, Xiao Chen already prepared purple thunder true fire and turned it into a purple arrow, stabbing it into the Blood Demon General's heart. Bang! The electric light radiated out. The body the Blood Demon General had just condensed exploded into countless blood droplets before the red light could land. ZZ. The tiny droplets raining all over the air and ground exploded into nothingness. The just-revived Blood Demon General was killed again. Lu Ruyu and Murong Chong revealed shocked gazes, especially the latter. There was a flame in his eyes, a gaze of complete disbelief. Although Lu Ruyu was astonished, she was happy for Xiao Chen when she saw his strength. She joyfully said, "Yi Chen, this must be a martial technique you grasped after becoming a martial saint. If I did not know about it beforehand, I would not be able to dodge such a move, either." Xiao Chen's move used the origin flames of the purple thunder true fire. Its full-powered strike was several times faster than the speed of sound. Underneath the martial king realm, if one did not practice a special movement technique and was not expecting it, no one would be able to dodge it. What Lu Ruyu had said was not false at all. After becoming a martial saint, my state of thunder advanced further. After that, I comprehended this move. However, the essence expenditure is huge. If I do not care about the consequences, I can execute this 3 more times at most, Xiao Chen said honestly to Lu Ruyu. Murong Chong was relentlessly simulating the odds in his mind of him being able to dodge if he were within 100 meters. The answer he got was quite startling. He only got a 50% chance of dodging. This move was able to kill the weak Blood Demon General in an instant. Given the might of this move, if it landed on him, he would die without a doubt. That is to say, Xiao Chen had a 50% chance of killing Murong Chong within 100 meters. Murong Chong thought to himself, I have to advance my state of wind. Otherwise, I do not have much chance of dodging this move. This time, the Blood Demon General took nearly an hour to revive. However, the result was the same as earlier. Before the red light shone down, Xiao Chen's purple thunder true fire blasted him into countless blood droplets again. This happened another 2 times. The revival time of the Blood Demon General was longer each time. However, he was instantly killed by Xiao Chen before the red light could shine down on him. Xiao Chen, who had used the purple thunder true fire repeatedly, was completely drained of color. He was now incredibly pale. Lu Ruyu handed him an inferior grade spirit stone. However, Xiao Chen had already recently used too many spirit stones. Regardless of the big fight in the forest or when piloting the silver warship, he had used too many. Xiao Chen's essence did not recover as fast as it had before. His body had already generated a resistance to inferior grade spirit stones. Inferior grade spirit stones used to be able to replenish all of his essence instantly. Now, it was incredibly slow, almost having no effect. Lu Ruyu asked worriedly, "Are you fine?" If you can't hold on, you can use the Divine Flame Talisman to leave first. Xiao Chen shook his head and tossed aside the inferior-grade spirit stone in his hand. Then, he swallowed a chi-returning pill. He said, "It's not a problem. The martial technique in the Saber does not require essence to use. I have to wait until he shows his true form before I make a move. You only have one chance." Lu Tianyu's words echoed in Xiao Chen's mind. Hence, he did not dare to make his move too early. This time, the Blood Demon General was taking frustratingly long to revive. After 4 hours, there was still no activity on the palace's rubble. However, everyone did not let down their guard. Everyone knew that the Blood Demon General was not dead. Furthermore, Xiao Chen could not use the Divine Flame Talisman again. Hence, they did not dare to be careless. Rumble. Suddenly the entire subspace started shaking for no apparent reason. To everyone's astonishment, the scarlet full moon in the sky grew bigger and bigger. It was getting closer. "The moon is falling," the 4 of them exclaimed in reaction to it. Without any hesitation, Xiao Chen sent out the silver warship in his right eye and jumped onto it. The others followed closely behind him. Bang! Xiao Chen did not manage to fly far when a horrifying shockwave smashed into them. The silver warship was like a small boat on a huge wave, bobbing up and down. With a thought from Xiao Chen, the silver warship started to become bigger. Eventually, it became a huge ship that was more than 200 meters long and 20 meters wide before it stabilized. At the same time, everyone saw the scene below them clearly. The instant the moon fell, the overhanging cliff was blasted apart, falling into the abyss. However, that moon was not actually a moon. It was a huge lump of meat with blood flowing around it. Aside from the layers of blood around the scarlet-colored meat, there were many tentacles on its surface. They were all waving around, giving anyone who saw it the chills. Pooh! Pooh! The huge slab of meat started to squirm about continuously. After a while, it turned into a scarlet human-shaped monster more than 200 meters tall. A horrifying aura extended out from the monster. The entire space was filled with a bloody stench. All of them felt a huge pressure. Yun Kashin said in a trembling voice, "Is this the true body of the Blood Demon General in this subspace? The aura he gives off is almost like that of a peak martial monarch." Ti-da. Ti-da. Blood dripped down continuously from the body of the Blood Demon General. As he looked at the silver warship, he said angrily, "I will kill you all. The ceremony I prepared for 20 years has been ruined by you ants." Who? When Xiao Chen saw the full form of the Blood Demon General, he did not feel afraid. Instead, he had a calm expression. He pushed his feet off the warship and leapt into the air. "Yi Chen, what are you doing?" Yun Kashin and Lu Ruyu both exclaimed. When the Blood Demon General saw Xiao Chen leaping towards him, his bloody face revealed a sinister smile. "How reckless. After forcing out my true body, no one in this space can kill me." After the Blood Demon General spoke, he raised his right hand, extending out his huge fingers. It was like a huge mountain swatting at Xiao Chen. Suddenly a bright light lit up in Xiao Chen's calm eyes. As the blood came nearer, the lunar shadow saber was tossed into the air as he said coldly, "Die." The snow-white lunar shadow saber immediately left Xiao Chen's hands. It created a multicolored light as it flashed in the air. It was so fast it made people wonder if they were hallucinating. Who see? The Blood Demon General's huge body split in half down the middle. The mountain-like hand stopped and hovered 1 meter above Xiao Chen's head. There was no heaven-shaking sound or exquisite lights. The Blood Demon General's huge body was simply chopped silently in half. Then, it scattered like ashes and turned into a scarlet light, not leaving anything behind after that. The night sky behind the Blood Demon General was like a black curtain with a long gash in it. It revealed emptiness that was darker than the night sky. Hu Kai. A bright light moved quickly from the boundless void. The lunar shadow saber flew back into Xiao Chen's hands. In the next moment, cracks appeared non-stop in the dark red space. This was a sign that the space was collapsing. The Blood Demon General had died for good this time, and he would not revive again. Of course, his real body in the demonic world would not die, and would only lose some strength. Xiao Chen turned around and returned to the silver warship. When he landed on the bow, he could not help but stagger. Lu Ruyu quickly went and supported him. The amount of mental strength that the earlier saber strike exhausted was more than he had imagined. He seemed like he was close to collapsing. Lu Ruyu said, "Why are you so rash? After breaking the Blood Demon General's ceremony, even if we did not kill him, our mission was completed." Xiao Chen did his best to focus. He smiled and said, "I am fine, don't worry. This is not my strength. This was bestowed by your father. It just made me mentally exhausted." After Murong Chong heard Xiao Chen's explanation, he heaved a sigh of relief. If that saber strike was Xiao Chen's own strength, then that would be too horrifying. Murong Chong estimated that almost no one in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would be able to block that saber strike. The pure force of the saber strike was almost at the limit of what humans could achieve. It could even tear apart space. Pu-si. Pu-si. More and more cracks appeared in the space. They were spreading light cracks in glass. Before everyone could react, they discovered that their bodies had become like pieces of mirrors. The entire space broke apart, and everyone's consciousness went temporarily blank. When they regained consciousness, their bodies had already returned back to the reincarnation well. Xiao Chen and all the other core disciples left in the subspace all returned to the side of the reincarnation well. When everyone saw their surroundings, their faces lit up with wild joy. They thought they were going to die. They did not expect to be able to survive. The four old men guarding the reincarnation well revealed relieved expressions on their withered faces. Only the one leading them did not show any expression of joy. He said, "I wondered if we would be so lucky 20 years later." Not long after they came out, someone arrived to bring them back. Then, he summoned the heavenly wind vulture to bring everyone back to the heaven viewing platform quickly. Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on the heaven viewing platform and circulated his purple thunder divine incantation quickly. After experiencing battle after battle without resting, his mind and body were tired. After 2 hours, when the heavenly wind vulture was flying over Qingyan Peak, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and slowly stood up. He had already recovered some of his spirit. Xiao Chen took out 20 demon cores from the universe ring and handed them to Lu Ruyu. He said, "Please help me turn in the mission. I have something I need to ask your father." Lu Ruyu received the demon cores and nodded gently. Murong Chong watched as Xiao Chen jumped down from the heavenly wind vulture. A smile appeared on his handsome face as he said to Lu Ruyu, "I did not expect you to accept such a disciple. However, I will defeat him miserably. I will show you that aside from me, no one can revitalize Qingyan Peak." A strong wind blew, causing some of Lu Ruyu's hair to dance in the wind. Her charming face had a hurt look on it. She said, "I never intended for him to revitalize Qingyan Peak. He does not belong in Qingyan Peak, nor the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. He will be leaving someday." Murong Chong was mildly stunned. Then, he followed up, "In that case, before he leaves, I will give him an unforgettable experience." A look of anger flashed in Lu Ruyu's face. She said, "Murong Chong, don't go too far." Murong Chong smiled gently, "Worry about yourself first. On the 15th of the next month, I will formally make an application to the Elders' Assembly for the position of Qingyan Peak's Peak Master. Hopefully, You can advance to Martial King before that. After Murong Chong spoke, he jumped off the heavenly wind vulture without looking back. He gave off a piercing sonic boom and flew into the distance. Up on Qingyan Peak's summit, Xiao Chen landed firmly in front of Lu Tianyu. Like before, he was seated cross-legged on a rock, like an old man past his prime. However, Xiao Chen did not dare to underestimate this person. He had a faint feeling in his heart that if he could leave the rock he was sitting on, he would be able to crush the entire Qingyan Peak with one hand. No one in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would be his match. Lu Tianyu looked at Xiao Chen and smiled gently. What are you doing, rushing here instead claiming your rewards? Xiao Chen organized his thoughts before saying, I just wanted to know, that final saber strike, was that something you gave me or something the lunar shadow saber has been storing up on its own? The strength of that final saber strike had reached a very horrifying level. All along, Xiao Chen did not think it was a strength belonging to the lunar shadow saber. Instead, he believed it was Lu Tianyu who had used some secret methods to store it in the lunar shadow saber. However, when he finally unleashed that saber strike, the energy from it felt incomparably familiar. It felt like a part of his body, not something bestowed by someone else. Lu Tianyu said indifferently, I told you long ago, this is the strength of the lunar shadow saber. It is just that you are currently unable to grasp hold of it. Xiao Chen was suspicious. He asked, why? Lu Tianyu replied, in the end, your lunar shadow saber is the Thunder Emperor's Thunderwood sword. Although it looks different now, it still contains the Battle Sage origin. The Battle Sage origin was divided into 6 pieces. Each piece contains a secret technique. As of now, you already obtained 2 pieces, the Changing Character Formula, and the Strength Character Formula. The Thunder Emperor has personally passed down the Changing Character Formula to you. Hence, you have already grasped a small portion of it. However, there is no one guiding you in the Strength Character Formula, so there is no way for you to grasp it. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment, and then said, are you saying that horrifying saber strike was a result of the Battle Sage Origin's Strength Character Formula? That is correct. Xiao Chen asked in confusion, when did I obtain the Strength Character Formula? Why do I not know about it? Lu Tianyu spread his hands out and smiled bitterly, even you yourself do not know, how would I know? The words of this old sly fox always omit half the details. There will be no results even if I keep asking him. I might as well wait for Ao Zhao to awaken. I can ask her about it then. Xiao Chen thought very hard. He was pretty sure Lu Tianyu knew the answer, but was not willing to tell him. However, he could not do anything about that. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen felt there was no point in him staying here. Hanging out with this person was too dangerous. So, he turned around and started to head down. Don't you wish to know where the third broken piece containing the Battle Sage origin is? This broken saber was personally sundered by the Thunder Emperor in the past. If it were not for the fact the Heavenly Saber Pavilion has a divine weapon to protect it, it would have been taken away by him. Don't you desire it? Lu Tianyu's voice came unhurriedly from behind Xiao Chen. He had spoken in an enticing manner. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with him, he simply jumped off the cliff. As he did so, he retorted, desire your sister. TL note. Desire your sister. This is one way of cursing in Chinese, not necessarily using desire, but one word then ending with a female member of the family. The Chinese seem to love using family members in their curses. I choose to translate this literally here rather than give an English equivalent because it needs to be literal for the next paragraph to make sense. Desire my sister. Why do you desire my sister? She died long ago. When he heard Xiao Chen's reply, his face was full of doubt. He could not understand why Xiao Chen had rejected him. Xiao Chen did indeed want to know where the broken saber containing the third piece of battle sage origin was. But at this moment, even if you beat him to death, he would not be willing to have any further dealings with Lu Tianyu. There had never been a good ending when he received a benefit from Lu Tianyu. Although Xiao Chen managed to come back from the subspace unscathed, he had completely exhausted his essence and spirit in the process. Without spending a week to rest and nourish himself, he would not be able to recover back to his peak state. Thus, when Lu Tianyu tried to entice him again, he could not help but curse out. The wind blew by Xiao Chen's ear as he used the gravity spell and flew back to his courtyard quickly. Without sufficient essence, Xiao Chen did not dare to move at his full speed. After flying for an hour, he slowly landed in the middle of his courtyard. When Xiao Chen returned to his bedroom, he did his best to resist the urge to fall on his bed to sleep. Instead, he sat cross-legged on his bed and slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation and entered into a cultivating state. Pu Ta. Xiao Bai came out of the spirit blood jade and jumped through the window. Xiao Chen could feel where it was going, so he did not bother about it. There had been other people in the subspace, so he did not dare to let it out there. Now that they were at Qingyan Peak, he let it go out to have some fun. After all, there was no danger. The purple chi whirlpool slowly spun in his dantian. The pure lightning attributed spiritual energy in the air poured into Xiao Chen's body rapidly. After he advanced to martial saint, Xiao Chen had discovered that when he cultivated, he would absorb lightning-attributed spiritual energy unless he consciously chose to absorb other spiritual energy attributes. This caused Xiao Chen some headache. With the pure lightning-attributed spiritual energy, the might of the rushing thunder saber technique would naturally be greater. However, there would be a barrier when he practiced other martial techniques, like the Ying-yu saber technique. The state of thunder was difficult to merge with the state of mountain. This made it difficult for his state of mountain to improve. What surprised him was that the state of thunder and the state of cloud were very compatible with one another. This resulted in the state of cloud of his Ying-yu saber technique constantly improving. This was both a good thing and bad thing. The increase of a state was something that was frequently sought, but hard to obtain. However, the Ying-yu saber technique sought a balance of the clouds and the mountain. If his state of clouds advanced too quickly, it would result in a loss of balance in the future. At that time, not only would the Ying-yu saber technique not have any improvements, its might would even decrease when Xiao Chen executed it. As Xiao Chen cultivated, he thought about this problem. If this keeps going on and I can't find a method to resolve this, I can only find a purely lightning-attributed saber technique. However, a regular Earth-ranked saber technique could no longer catch Xiao Chen's eyes. It had to be a superior-grade Earth-ranked martial technique, at the least. The last time I was in the library, I did not discover any pure lightning-attributed saber technique. There was only a dual-attributed wind and thunder saber technique. It seems that I have to find an opportunity to go down the mountain. Time slowly ticked by. Drops of crystalline purple liquid were quickly dripping down from the purple chi whirlpool. Xiao Chen's dried-up essence slowly filled up. Dang! Dang! Xiao Chen heard footsteps coming from outside his courtyard. Accompanying the footsteps was a strong aura. An expert. Xiao Chen quickly stopped circulating his essence and a purple light flashed in his eyes. His spiritual sense quickly flew out like an arrow, and he saw the arriving person's face clearly. How could it be her? When Xiao Chen saw that person's appearance, he was incredibly shocked. He did not have much time to think as he quickly got up and walked outside. This person was currently quickly heading for his bedroom. Ga Ji. The doors opened and Ying-yu appeared at the door wearing a suit of golden women's armor. There was a faint smile on her beautiful face as she looked at Xiao Chen. When Ying-yu opened her mouth, Her voice was resounding and yet melodious. It's been a long time. I did not expect for the insignificant martial master from back then to advance to martial saint already. When Xiao Chen saw Ying-yu's face again, there was a ripple in his heart. This woman was too beautiful. The phrase, femme fatale, was a perfect word to describe her. The most important thing was that Xiao Chen remembered he had once done something very disrespectful to her appearance. Furthermore, Ying-yu could not have come to look for him for no reason. If it was because of that, it would be troublesome. Although he was somewhat panicking in his heart, Xiao Chen's expression was incredibly calm. After all, he was very confident in his shapeshifting spell. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I don't think I know you." Ying-yu glanced at Xiao Chen without saying anything. Then, she turned around and headed for the courtyard. Xiao Chen quickly followed her carefully. After Ying-yu sat down at the stone table, she smiled faintly. "Are you still pretending even now? Should I call you Xiao Chen or Yi Chen? Which do you prefer?" Ying-yu's tone was extremely ordinary. It could even be said to be somewhat intimate. However, to someone else, there was an indescribable might. This was the ruler's aura of someone born in the royal clan. No matter how they covered it up, they would leak it unconsciously. It seemed Ying-yu knew everything. That seemed about right, too. With the power at her disposal, everything in the entire Great Qin nation was under her control. If Ying-yu needed to investigate someone, even if they changed their appearance, she would be able to discover them if she put in some effort. It was just a matter of time. After all, it was very normal to slip up unknowingly. Xiao Chen sat across from Ying-yu and said, "Since you know already, I shall not hide it anymore. Just speak, why are you looking for me? If it is about the Gai Marquis, I have nothing to say." Ying-yu took out a female sculpture made of wood. The girl was wearing golden armor. Her pretty face was in high spirits. The exquisite workmanship of the sculpture made it look like a real person, like it was a miniature Ying-yu. Xiao Chen panicked even more in his heart. He did not expect it to actually be the thing he feared. Ying-yu really came because of this matter. However, if it was just this sculpture, Xiao Chen would not be afraid. Very exquisite sculpture, it looks uncannily like a real person. I wonder who carved it. Hey, it seems to look exactly like you. Xiao Chen started to critique this sculpture as though it was none of his business. Ying-yu picked it up and fiddled around with it gently. She smiled as she said, "I also want to know who carved it. Everyone in the imperial capital's upper society has them. Everyone seems to have one. It cost me 100 spirit stones for one. I really did not expect this to be so valuable, to be worth this much. If I'm lacking in money in the future, I can go look for this sculpture for help. It was actually so expensive. 100 inferior grade spirit stones. Damn it, seems like I was still taken advantage of by that damn fatty." Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly as he cursed Jin Dabao in his heart. "What's wrong with you? Your complexion seems off." Ying-yu smiled gently. Xiao Chen covered it up and laughed out. "Nothing, just feeling a little depressed." Pa. Suddenly, Ying-yu smashed her palm on the stone table. Her horrifying aura was released. When this aura and her voice merged together, Xiao Chen was startled despite himself. "How long are you going to pretend? To think you are still not admitting to it." Ying-yu's complexion suddenly changed and she took out another wooden sculpture. The face of this wooden sculpture was the same as the earlier wooden sculpture. However, there were fewer clothes on it, it only had a thin bra on. However, this was not the key part. The key part was that the protruding areas on its chest had already been worn down. A perfect sculpture had been turned into something like this. Xiao Chen could no longer sit still. He felt like crying in his heart, as he had truly overestimated the fatty's morals. Even after Jin Dabao begged Xiao Chen for a long time, Xiao Chen was not willing to carve this for him. However, as he was lacking in essence light arrows, he had no other choice but to carve one for him. Xiao Chen had not expected that the fatty's vulgar personality would stay the same as before. It seems like bad habits are hard to change. Xiao Chen quickly explained, "All right, I admit to carving this sculpture. However, this was all Jin Dabao's idea. It is not related to me. He has some dirt on me, so I was forced to do this. You have to believe me. My apologies, Brother Dabao. I can only blame you at this crucial moment," Xiao Chen thought to himself. Ying-yu smiled without speaking as she took out a purple crystal ball. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. He knew that this was a special tool that could store a person's voice. However, why was Ying-yu taking it out? "Your Highness, listen to me. All of this was Xiao Chen's idea. It is not related to me. He has some dirt on me, so I was forced to do this. You have to believe me." Jin Bidao's unforgettable voice that was filled with his unique characteristics could be heard from the purple crystal ball. When Xiao Chen heard this, he was stunned. He had not expected for the fatty to be so shameless and betray him immediately. Ying-yu smiled and said, "Do you still have anything to say?" Seems like Jin Bidao had confessed everything. Even if Xiao Chen did not wish to admit to it, he had no other choice. However, Xiao Chen's expression slowly calmed down instead. He was thinking very quickly in his mind. If Ying-yu was truly angry, she would not have wasted so much time speaking with him. Given her character, she would have made a move on him already. Seems like Ying-yu remembered that Xiao Chen had saved her life once before, so she was not really angry. Thinking of all this, Xiao Chen sat down again. "Yu Ying, oh wait, no, it should be Princess Ying-yu now. What do you want? Just say it." Ying-yu was stunned. She had not expected for Xiao Chen to remain so calm after she brought out proof. Such an attitude made her slightly disappointed. She smiled and said, "What do you think I can do to you?" Xiao Chen's chest tightened. Ying-yu's tone seemed to indicate that she was somewhat angry and helpless. Seeing Xiao Chen keeping quiet, the smile on Ying-yu's face was withdrawn. She said seriously, "As for the matter of the sculpture, you are punished by carving one for me every month. Furthermore, each sculpture has to be different. If you can do this, we shall call this quits. There is still another matter. Feng Feishui had recommended you for the Imperial Dragon Legion. Back then, my answer to her was I will decide after we meet. Now, I am making a formal decision. Inheritor of the Azure Dragon Martial Spirit, Xiao Chen, will you join the Imperial Dragon Legion after leaving the Heavenly Saber Pavilion?" Xiao Chen was mildly startled when his status as the inheritor of the Azure Dragon Martial Spirit was revealed. However, when he thought about it, Ying-yu and Feng Feishui knew each other, so he did not feel any fear. Xiao Chen calmed himself down and asked, "I would like to ask, why did Feng Feishui recommend for me to join your Imperial Dragon Legion?" Given the Feng clan's strength and that Feng Feishui spent a lot of time in the Imperial capital, there is nothing strange about her knowing Ying-yu. However, why did she recommend me to the Imperial Dragon Legion? If it was a normal person, even if they did not join the Imperial Dragon Legion, they would be wild with joy at Ying-yu's invitation. The Imperial Dragon Legion was the Great Qin nation's strongest force. After one joined, they would receive a cultivating environment better than that of the three great sects. Furthermore, they would be able to gain status and position in the royal courts. To most cultivators, this was a good place to be. It could even be said to be the best place for cultivators in the Great Qin nation. However, Xiao Chen could not understand something. How was he related to Feng Feishui? Why did she help him repeatedly so many times? Furthermore, it was unconditional help without expecting anything in return. Ying-yu thought for a while before she said, "Firstly, You have almost offended all the noble clans in the Great Qin nation. It would be difficult, even for Feng Feishui, to restore your identity as Xiao Chen. However, after you joined the Imperial Dragon Legion and gained the protection of the royal courts, naturally, no one would dare to make things difficult for you. Secondly, there are specialized martial techniques and cultivation techniques for the Azure Dragon martial spirit in the royal courts. If you join us, I can immediately give them to you. Thirdly, this is the simplest reason: the royal court had access to the most resources. The amount they invest in the Imperial Dragon Legion is virtually unlimited. The cultivation environment is even better than the three great sects. Feng Feishui's intention is not for you to rush your decision. Whether or not you reject me, you can tell me after you leave the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. After Xiao Chen heard that, there was a smile on his face. Feng Feishui had really thought of everything. There was truly no reason for him to reject. However, he would not agree to it. The Tianwu continent was broad and vast. Xiao Chen never had the intentions of limiting himself to the Great Qin nation. Since he came to this world, he had to do his best to pursue the limits of cultivation. Even if Xiao Chen did not reach the same heights as the Tianwu Emperor and leave his mark on history, he wanted to at least reach the cultivation realm of the Thunder Emperor, to be able to move around the continent unrivaled. Although joining the Imperial Dragon Legion could allow him to raise his cultivation in a short amount of time, it would be difficult for Xiao Chen to leave in the future. It might be possible for Xiao Chen to be stuck in the Great Qin nation forever. For those people who were simply aimed to become martial monarchs or martial kings, there would naturally be no problems. However, to Xiao Chen, it would be a big problem. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, I'm afraid I cannot accept this offer. Will you help me tell Feng Feishui that I appreciate her kind intentions?" Ying-yu was somewhat surprised. She asked, "Why?" The Azure Dragon martial spirit's martial techniques are extremely strong. For you, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Are you planning to use the name Yi Chen forever? TL note. Adding wings to a tiger means making a strong person even stronger. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Since the martial technique manuals are copies, there would definitely be more than one copy. There would be an opportunity to obtain them in the future. Furthermore, without someone to provide guidance, it would be extremely difficult for me to comprehend it on my own. As for my identity, of course, I will not stay as Yi Chen forever. Back then, I had said I would come back and kill my way to those noble clans' doorsteps 2 years later. I will make them regret their decisions." Xiao Chen's tone was extremely calm. These were not bold or visionary words. However, the look of determination in his eyes caused one to believe in him without any doubts. Ying-yu revealed a pondering expression. After a while, she laughed gently and said, "Have you ever thought of why Feng Feishui wants you to go to the imperial capital?" Regardless of the initial Heavenly Qin School or the Imperial Dragon Legion, Feng Feishui's main purpose was to get him to the imperial capital. After Ying-yu's reminder, Xiao Chen remembered this. "If I have something I need your help with in the future, I hope you will do your best to help me." Xiao Chen remembered Feng Feishui's words as he was leaving Mohe City. Could there be something in this world that Feng Feishui was unable to accomplish? After he had left for such a long time, he had a better and more objective understanding of the Feng clan's strength. The Fengyu Merchant Association was much stronger than he had imagined. Their business was scattered all over the Tianwu continent. They were pretty much involved in all the businesses that were profitable. All the great sects and powers within the Great Qin nation had connections with the Feng clan or had some business transactions with them. The thing that truly resulted in no one underestimating the Feng clan was that they almost had a monopoly on the trading channels of spirit stones in the Great Qin nation. All the spirit stones produced by the spirit mines of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Misty Sword Sect, Night Spirit Palace, and even the royal court had to go through the Feng clan's trading channels in order for them to gain the biggest profits. Even such a huge power like the Heaven Saber Pavilion, which had an inheritance of 10,000 years, did not dare to offend them. Could there be something that was too difficult for Feng Feishui? Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and replied, I have a debt of gratitude to Feng Feishui. If she needs my help, all she has to do is ask. As long as it is within my capabilities, regardless of where I am or what urgent matters I have, I will come the moment she calls. She just has to call me. Ying-yu smiled faintly and said, that is just as well. Since she did not tell you about it, I can't really say too much. Just remember what you said today. Also, don't forget to carve a sculpture for me every month. I'll take my leave first. Wait a while. When Xiao Chen saw that Ying-yu was about to leave, he remembered something. So he called out to stop her. Ying-yu turned around and said, is there something else? Did you change your mind? Xiao Chen took out a flowing light flower petal from the universe ring and handed it to Ying-yu. When you return to the imperial capital, please help me to pass this to my cousin Yulan. At a single glance, Ying-yu could tell that this flowing light flower was not an ordinary flowing light flower. It should be an immortal grade flowing light flower. She did not expect Xiao Chen to simply pass something like that to her. Ying-yu raised her hand and a strong suction force appeared. The flowing light flower immediately flew into her hands. She placed the golden petal under her nose and sniffed it gently. She said, it is indeed an immortal grade flowing light flower. Are you not afraid of me taking it for myself? Xiao Chen smiled and said, given your comprehension abilities, the flowing light flower would not be very useful for you. Furthermore, you are the princess, you will not do such a despicable thing. Ying-yu closed her hands and the flowing light flower immediately disappeared. A mischievous smile appeared on her exquisite face. That might not be so. Xiao Chen laughed without replying. After Ying-yu spoke, she did not stay and left immediately. He could tell that she was in a rush. It had been a year since they met. Back then, he was an insignificant martial master. Now, he was an inferior grade martial saint, but he was still unable to see through her strength. I wonder how she cultivates. Our ages are similar but our cultivation realm is so different. Ying-yu's arrival reminded Xiao Chen of something. This caused him to forego any thoughts of continuing to cultivate. The sky was already dark and the moon hung high in the night sky. The faint moonlight shone a gentle light on Xiao Chen's courtyard. Xiao Chen took out a flask of wine and a wine cup from his universe ring. Then he poured himself a cup and looked at the round moon as he pondered. Xiao Chen had unknowingly left Mohe City for a year already. During this year, he had experienced a lot of things. When he had just left, because he was shining too brightly, he had offended the noble clans of the Nanling province and the Dongming province in the ancient remnants. After that, more things had happened. When he made his move at the Flying Snow Manor, he had already made complete enemies of these noble clans. Even Feng Feishui would find it hard to mediate. However, Feng Feishui did not blame Xiao Chen for any of this. She even took the initiative to take care of the Xiao clan in Mohe City, not letting the noble clans make things difficult for the Xiao Chen. Now when Xiao Chen thought back, he had indeed forgotten to consider the consequences of his actions. He had never considered how his actions would affect the Xiao clan. However, since he had already done it, he should not feel any regrets over it. While one is young, they should shine. Otherwise, when they grew older and their cultivation speed slows down, they would lose any chance they had to shine. If a cultivator was afraid of everything and was cautious or overthought everything they did, they would one day lose their drive. Hu Kai. Just as Xiao Chen poured out a drink for himself, a white figure appeared before him. It was Xiao Bai, who had gone out and now returned. When Xiao Bai smelled the fragrance of wine, it immediately leapt onto the stone table. Then, it looked at Xiao Chen with watery, pitiful eyes. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and took out another wine cup. After he filled it, he placed it by Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai immediately started drinking elatedly. After Xiao Chen took a sip, he rubbed Xiao Bai's head. He said with some regret in his voice, "Aside from the saber in my hand, you are the only one that can accompany me from the start to the end." The sounds of footsteps came from outside again. Xiao Chen was very familiar with the rhythm of these footsteps. Without have to use his spiritual sense, he knew it was Lu Sufeng. Indeed, after a short time, Lu Sufeng appeared before Xiao Chen. When Xiao Chen felt Lu Sufeng's aura, his eyes lit up. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, when did you make the breakthrough to Martial Saint?" Lu Sufeng had broken through the day before. When he heard Xiao Chen congratulating him, his face was filled with joy. He said, "I just broke through not long ago. This is thanks to your flowing light flower, it has significantly raised my comprehension abilities. The bottleneck which I had been stuck at is finally over." That was how bottlenecks were. Sometimes, even after thinking long and hard, trying all sorts of methods, one might not be able to break through. It could last for a year, 2 years, or sometimes even forever. However, all it needed was a small crack and the bottleneck would be broken. Xiao Chen's flowing light flower was the crack that helped Lu Sufeng to break through this bottleneck. Lu Sufeng took out a stack of bright medial-grade spirit stones. Then he looked at them enviously as he said, "My sis asked me to bring these to you. There are 200 medial-grade spirit stones, do count them to make sure." Xiao Chen put away all the spirit stones with a shua, without really counting them. Then, he said, "That's right, where is your sis? Why is she not here?" Lu Sufeng seemed to suddenly remember something as he said, "I nearly forgot. Sis is in closed-door training. She asked me to tell you that she will not be able to operate the ancient absolute saber formation for you during this period of time. She said you should spend some time cultivating and consolidate your cultivation." Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He felt it was strange that she entered closed-door training when there was nothing going on. This is not a problem. Do you know why is she in closed-door training? Xiao Chen had already spent a long time in the ancient absolute saber formation, and he had already touched the surface of listening to the sword and communicating with it. He was only short of an opportunity before he could barely comprehend it. In the short term, there was no problem with not going to the listening to the sword and communicating with it. Xiao Chen was actually more concerned about Lu Ruyu. Why did she enter closed-door training? Lu Sufeng shook his head and said, "I'm not sure, there seems to be something bothering her, but I'm not in a good position to ask her about it. If there is nothing else, I shall take my leave first." Xiao Chen urged him to stay. "Why don't you sit down and have some wine before you go?" Lu Sufeng was about to agree when he saw Xiao Bai casting a meaningful glance at him. He immediately changed his mind, saying, "It's fine, it's fine. I have some urgent things to do so I have to leave first." Lingyun Mountain Range, near a desolate waterfall in the back mountains. The gushing waterfall fell from a high place relentlessly and noisily. Great clouds churned in the sky above, the indistinct sound of thunder crackled unceasingly. Xiao Chen stood at the river which the waterfall fell into. He drew the lunar shadow saber from its scabbard. There was a flash of saber light and thunder crackled unceasingly in the sky. Suddenly, boundless clouds appeared in Xiao Chen's surroundings. Resplendent lightning lit up inside the clouds, causing the layers to separate. At the same time, it seemed to have caused a loud roar of thunder. The gushing river rippled together with the sound of thunder. Everlasting startling cloud. The instant all the clouds scattered, the snow-white lunar shadow saber emitted a fine thread of saber chi. The saber chi vanished after a flash, as if it were merely an illusion. Xiao Chen swung his saber up and shouted, "Explode!" With a shua, the fine saber chi that had originally disappeared suddenly exploded in the air. The purple saber chi was surrounded in a boundless electric light as it expanded out in the air like it was a wall of water. Pili Paula. There was an electric light flickering on the water screen. At the end of it, the gushing waterfall looked like it had been hacked in half. The electric light on the screen did not fade even after a long time. The waterfall that gushed down with several thousand kilograms of force was stopped by the horrifying electrical energy. It was simply suspended in the air, like it was frozen in time. Xiao Chen withdrew his saber and returned it to the scabbard. He looked at the purple electricity in the air that had not faded and said, "Everlasting startling cloud, after the state of thunder is added, its might has increased by at least 20%. Although the might of the everlasting startling cloud was increased significantly, Xiao Chen did not show any expressions of joy. It had been half a month since he had returned from the subspace. During this half month, Xiao Chen had been digesting everything he learned in the subspace. The high-intensity battles in those 2 days could be said to be the most intense battles he ever been through, be it physically or mentally. They were continuous and never-ending. There were limitless demonic beasts appearing unpredictably, and also demons who were hiding in shadows and sneak attacking them. This resulted in them being on high alert at all times. Those 2 days of experiential training resulted in an improvement that was better than a month of regular experiential training. After half a month, Xiao Chen had already absorbed all his gains. The experience of this experiential training resulted in his cultivation as an inferior grade martial saint stabilizing. He would be able to push himself to peak inferior grade martial saint at any time. His comprehension of the state of thunder had also reached an even higher level. When he executed an attack, he was able to display the might of thunder. With the aid of the state of thunder, the state of clouds in the Ying-yu saber technique experienced an increase in might. However, he was unable to advance the state of mountain. This resulted in him being unable to comprehend the last move of the Ying-yu saber technique. As it was, even the 17th move, twisting road around peak, was starting to show signs of instability. Hence, even though the might of the everlasting startling cloud had a significant increase, Xiao Chen was unable to feel happy about it. The electricity in the air started to slowly fade away, the gushing waterfall started to flow again. The sound of the waterfall crashing onto the river could be heard once more. Xiao Chen said, "It seems like I really do have to search for a lightning-attributed saber technique. The rank of the rushing thunder saber technique is too low in the end. It is no longer suitable for me anymore. Furthermore, it is too straightforward, there is no way to make changes in battle." After the mission in the subspace was over, he could choose a spirit weapon, battle armor, or martial technique. Xiao Chen had chosen a martial technique. During these days, Xiao Chen went to all the libraries in every peak to take a look when he had the time. In the end, he left feeling disappointed. There were exceedingly few pure lightning-attributed martial techniques. Even if there were any, their rank were too low and could not catch Xiao Chen's eyes. Since there were none in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he could only leave the mountain to search. However, before he left, he had to do something first. He had lent the heaven-ranked roaming dragon saber to Yun Kashin in the past. However, he did not know why, but she had not returned it yet. Originally, he wanted to go over a week ago to ask about it. After all, Xiao Chen had not reached the point where he could casually hand out heaven-ranked spirit weapons. However, that time was a crucial period for his cultivation. Furthermore, given Yun Kexin's character, she would not refuse to pay back a debt she owed. Hence, he had let it drag out to today. Xiao Chen left the Qingyan Peak and asked around where Yun Kexin stayed in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. After that, he took his time and went over with a peaceful expression. Even though it had been half a month, Xiao Chen was not worried that Yun Kexin would misappropriate the roaming dragon saber for herself. His only guess was that she had an urgent need for the roaming dragon saber, so she had borrowed it to use temporarily. Sometimes, the aura of a person would reveal the character of a person. The aura Yun Kexin gave off was calm and tranquil. It was impossible for her to do something so despicable. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had been in contact with this aura for a period of time, and was sure that it was not faked. You are saying Yun Kexin already left half a month ago. When Xiao Chen reached Yun Kexin's abode, he did not see her. He only saw a maid that was tidying the place up. After he asked for Yun Kexin, he obtained such an answer. Half a month ago, that would be when we just got out of the subspace, Xiao Chen thought to himself. What exactly happened for her to leave so urgently? Are you Qingyan Peak's young Master Yi? The maid asked when she noticed the identity token hanging at Xiao Chen's waist. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "That's right, I am Qingyan Peak's Yi Chen. This is my identity token." The maid smiled and took out a note. "Then you are the one." Before Miss Yun left, she left behind a note. She said to hand over the note if someone from Qingyan Peak came to look for her. "It has been half a month, but you did not come. I almost forgot about it." Xiao Chen received the note and slowly opened it. Then, he read it in his heart. "Brother Yi, something urgent happened at home and I need to borrow your roaming dragon saber. This issue happened suddenly and I was unable to ask you personally. I hope you will forgive me for that. There are some spirit stones under the bed. Consider them as payment for borrowing your heaven-ranked weapon. I will thank you again when we meet in the future. I am very sorry for this." Xiao Chen smiled gently and burned away the note in his hand. It was indeed as he had guessed. Yun Kexin had pressing matters to deal with and had to borrow the roaming dragon saber. Xiao Chen looked at the maid and smiled. "Did you forget that there is something Miss Yun wanted you to pass to me?" The somewhat confused maid thought for a while before saying, Yes, I remember now. There are some boxes under the bed. They are quite heavy, I do not know what they are. The young miss instructed me to not open them. I had forgotten about them after this time." The maid led Xiao Chen to Yun Kexin's bedroom and tried to pull out the boxes. However, after using all her strength, she was unable to move them at all. Xiao Chen quickly stopped her and pulled out the boxes himself. However, he did not open the boxes. He extended out his spiritual sense and discovered tons of inferior grade spirit stones. When he did a rough count, there were at least 5,000. Yun Kexin is really generous. There are 5,000 inferior spirit stones and yet she just casually placed them under her bed. Is she not afraid of someone stealing them? So many spirit stones was a stroke of unexpected fortune. After Xiao Chen stored all of them in his universe ring, he left.